Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look, a really revealing look into the world of trucking. It's an industry that, well, it keeps everything moving, doesn't it?
It really does. Our whole country relies on it.
We're going to peel back some layers here, explore the challenges you might not expect, the hidden realities, and frankly, the incredible character of the folks behind the wheel.
That's the plan. We're trying to get beyond just the headlines, understand trucking from the inside. We've got a stack of sources, lots of different stuff, including insights straight from the trucking community, places like LifeAsATrucker.com.
Right.
And our goal, like Hervey from Life as a Trucker often says, is to see these things from all angles, connect the dots between stories that might seem unrelated,
Okay.
and really show you how this all impacts drivers' lives.
Yeah.
And why it matters to you listening right now.
Absolutely. So to really get a handle on this, we have to start with the people, right? The human element. When we think trucks, maybe we picture the highway, the rig itself, but behind every single wheel, there's a person. And there's stories. Way more complex than we might think. Sometimes they get blamed unfairly, and sometimes, honestly, they're heroes.
Let's start with a tough one. A tragic incident out of North Carolina.
Yeah, it's a heavy place to begin, but it's important. News reports talked about this awful collision, Nash County, North Carolina, about 2:30 in the morning.
Middle of the night.
Exactly. Two passenger cars somehow ended up underneath a tractor trailer. 6 people died, 1 injured. Took first responders 5 hours just to get the victims out.
Wow.
But here's what's interesting, or maybe revealing. The trucking community looks at that same report, and they immediately start asking different questions. Questions the mainstream news often just skips over.
Like what are those details that get missed? Sounds like there's always another layer.
Oh, absolutely. First thing a trucker asks, was that tractor trailer moving, or was it legally parked? That's not a small detail. It completely changes who might be liable.
Huge difference. Huge. If the rig was parked legally, then you got to look at the cars. Which leads to the next question. Why did they end up under the trailer? That strongly suggests, maybe speed, maybe distracted, driving from the cars.
Right.
And it raises questions about underride guards on trailers, visibility. And think about it, 2:30 a.m., rural North Carolina, how dark was it? Unlit roads, fog maybe, poor signs. Truckers know how sketchy those conditions can be.
And is that frustration, isn't there, that the news often just zooms in on the big rig, almost makes it the bad guy?
That's exactly it. It happens time and again. And it brings up something truckers talk about constantly. Why aren't regular drivers, four-wheelers, trained better on how to share the road safely with semis?
Yeah.
People just don't get the danger of tailgating an 80,000-pound truck or cutting one off or totally misjudging how long it takes them to stop or how fast they're actually going. It's deadly.
So for the driver involved in something like that, even if it wasn't their fault, what's the impact? All that scrutiny, the nature of these events?
Well, this kind of tragedy, it just shows how fast a trucker's life can be turned upside down. 1 minute, you're just doing your job, running your route. The next, you're involved in a fatal crash. And even if you did absolutely everything right, you carry that forever, that memory, that burden. It really highlights the intense pressure truckers are under e-logs watching you, dash cams, and then these, judgmental headlines ready to blame you. It's a lot.
That's a really heavy weight to carry, often unseen. Okay, but let's shift gears a bit, because while some headlines paint a grim picture, maybe even a villainous one, our sources also show this other side, an incredible side, the everyday heroism of truckers. Do we have stories about that, the unsung heroes?
We absolutely do. And these stories are so important because they just flip that common narrative. Take the big rig, bigger heart story. You've got a trucker, sees a pregnant woman on a busy interstate, her car is smoking.
Oh, wow.
Dozens of cars just fly past. This driver pulls over, calls 911, keeps her calm, helps her out of the car. Emergency crews said he basically prevented a tragedy.
That's amazing.
And what the news often doesn't say is, this isn't rare. Truckers help people all the time. Think about it. Most folks, they've got somewhere to be right. They keep driving. It takes real guts to stop your rig, especially with a schedule breathing down your neck, and get involved. They're out there saving lives without body cams or badges, as one source put it.
That willingness to step up, even when it costs them time or puts them at risk, it's really something. Makes you see the road differently.
It really does. And it connects perfectly to another story. The Newport trucker honored his highway angel. This driver saw a young woman in distress with a guy who just seemed off, sketchy.
Gut feeling.
Exactly. Trust your gut. He calls 911, keeps eyes on the car, gives updates, even uses his truck to help slow traffic so the police could intercept them. Turns out it was an alleged abduction. They rescued the woman thanks to him.
Incredible.
Yeah, and he got the Highway Angel Award from the Truckload Carriers Association. They give that out for drivers who do extraordinary things, pulling people from wrecks, CPR, helping stranded folks, and now, helping catch criminals.
These stories, they really do challenge the stereotype, don't they? So what does this tell us about the fundamental character of truckers?
I think it shows us something crucial that often gets missed. Despite all the pressures, the schedules, the rules, the isolation, their basic human decency, their compassion often wins out. They're people first, fathers, brothers, sons.
Right.
They choose to help when it'd be easier to just keep rolling.
Mm.
Their character counts more than the clock sometimes. They're trained observers. They see things others don't. They're the eyes and ears of America's roads, making tough calls. Often, like the source said, without fame, no glory. Just doing what's right when it counts.
That's the kind of positive story the industry needs more of. It helps drivers feel seen, respected.
Definitely. And it shows a kind of humanity the world could use more of, frankly. It helps drivers feel supported.
Okay, so we've celebrated that human spirit. But we also need to remember, truckers operate in this constantly changing world. Big shifts happening all the time. Let's pivot now from the personal stories to those broader forces, policy, economics, new tech. How do these things affect life on the road?
Yeah, you have to look at the big picture, too. Take FedEx Freight recently. They decided to extend this pause, it was like 150 days, on cracking down on stricter LTL classification rules. Less than truckload.
Okay, LTL. What does that actually mean for a driver pulling up to a dock?
Well, in practical terms, it means less drama. Fewer arguments at pickup, less chance of having to repack stuff or getting a load rejected right there on the dock. And importantly, drivers avoid getting blamed if the shipper messed up the classification and the price changes.
But let's be real, FedEx isn't just being nice here, are they? There's got to be more to it.
Oh, for sure. It's not pure kindness. It's business strategy. They want to keep their customers happy, stop them from looking at competitors. Shippers were apparently getting really overwhelmed by how complicated the old LTL classification system is. It caused confusion, potential fines, bad for business.
And the drivers?
Drivers are caught in the middle. As usual, they just want to pick up the freight, drop it off, and not get tangled up in arguments about pricing or paperwork. This pause helps with that, at least for now.
And speaking of the bigger picture, the economy, we saw the CEO of Triton, that's VW's truck division, kind of pouring cold water on the idea of a big truck demand rebound in 2025.
Yeah, he sounded pretty skeptical about a big North American comeback late next year. He pointed to soft orders from the big fleets, said there's still too much truck capacity out there, and even the big manufacturers, the OEMs, are seeing their profit margins squeezed.
Why does that matter to, say, a solo owner-operator or even a company driver?
It matters because it signals a few things. Slower production of new trucks could keep used truck prices high, which isn't great if you need to replace yours. It also means probably no big discounts from factories if you are buying new. And maybe most importantly, it suggests a lack of confidence that freight volumes are really going to pick up strongly.
So dispatch might be painting a rosier picture than reality.
Could be. Dispatchers might be talking up available loads when the overall forecast is kind of weak. Now, other truck makers are saying they're cautiously optimistic, but Triton, they're not sold on that narrative.
Yeah.
Fleets are cutting costs. Owner-operators are definitely feeling the pinch, high cost, lower rates. Nobody wants a $200 K paperweight.
No kidding. It definitely sounds like things are constantly shifting, and maybe what looks like a win is just temporary. But what about policy? You mentioned a win earlier, the speed limiter thing. That was big news for drivers.
Huge news. Yeah, truckers were genuinely celebrating when the Trump administration scrapped that Obama-era plan for mandatory speed limiters on big rigs.
Remind us what that plan was.
The idea was to cap all Class A trucks, the big ones at maybe 60, 65, or 68 miles per hour, for safety, supposedly.
But drivers had issues with that.
Major issues. The big one was safety, ironically. You can't have trucks going, say, 65 on an interstate where the speed limit is 75 or 80, and cars are flying by 10, 15, 20 miles an hour faster. Creates dangerous speed differentials.
Like a moving roadblock.
Exactly. Truckers were saying it would turn highways into death traps.
Yeah.
And there's also the argument that you need that extra power sometimes, going up hills, merging safely. Fundamentally, many felt it was taking control away from the trained professional behind the wheel. You can't legislate common sense, was a common refrain.
So why did the plan get scrapped in the end? Driver objections.
That was a big part. The Department of Transportation under Trump said the rule was too restrictive, didn't have enough solid data behind it. But, politics played a role too. Truckers are a pretty significant voting bloc. And the big industry groups like the ATA, and especially OOIDA, the owner-operator group, they lobbied really hard against it. So for drivers, getting rid of it felt like a win. It felt like respecting their judgment, trusting them to operate safely, not just having bureaucrats in D.C. write rules that ignore reality.
Okay, so we've covered the day-to-day, the big industry shifts. Now let's talk safety again, but also planning ahead, building a secure future. Because the road, as we've said, can be dangerous.
It really can. And that story about the Texas man getting life for murdering a missing trucker, that just hits so hard in the community because everyone thinks that could have been me.
It feels very vulnerable.
Extremely. And the part the media often doesn't cover enough is just how much truckers are targets. They're hauling valuable stuff, they're often alone, sleeping in remote or poorly lit areas. It makes them easy marks for robberies, scams, violence, even murder. And these things happen, but they get barely any coverage outside trucking circles.
So what are the practical lessons? How can drivers stay safer out there, learning from something so tragic?
Well, some key things come up again and again in the community. Number one, trust your gut. If a load, a broker, a location, anything feels off bail, your life isn't worth the freight.
Absolutely.
2, stay connected. Always let someone, family, dispatcher, someone, know your route, where you're stopping. 3, vet your stops. Don't just pull into any random dark corner. Look for well-lit, reputable places, especially overnight.
Makes sense.
4, don't advertise your cargo if you can help it be discreet. And 5, have an emergency plan. Maybe it's a personal safety device, a panic button app on your phone, a dash cam that streams live, something.
And does the wider industry step up?
The official industry response can seem quiet as usual sometimes. But within the trucking community, that's where the real support network is. We learn, we adjust, we look out for each other. That peer support is vital.
Looking ahead now, technology, it's always buzzing. AI, electric trucks. Is this going to fundamentally change trucking soon, or is it still mostly hype?
It's definitely got potential, but maybe not immediate disruption for most drivers. We saw this startup, Navoya, raised over $9 million for electric Class 8 trucks using AI.
Okay, what's the promise there?
They're talking a whole new design, built electric from the ground up. AI doing route planning, load balancing, predicting when maintenance is needed. Zero emissions, of course. For drivers, yeah, maybe that means fuel savings, less time broken down.
But there are catches.
Always catches, right. We don't know what the actual cab will be like. Range anxiety is still a huge issue for electric, especially for long-haul trucking. How far can it really go on a charge, especially with a heavy load in bad weather?
In the AI part, what does that mean for the driver's job?
That's the million-dollar question. Will AI just help drivers optimize their routes, make their lives easier? Or will it start making decisions for you, tracking every second, maybe treating drivers less like skilled professionals and more like, robots?
So fleets might be interested in cost savings, tech investors love the buzz, but drivers are skeptical.
Very skeptical. They're asking the practical questions. Will this thing actually hold up pulling 80,000 pounds?
Yeah.
Can it handle a Minnesota winter? Are they going to treat me like a pilot operating advanced tech or like a babysitter for a computer?
So bottom line on electric AI trucks for now.
Definitely worth watching. But don't quit your diesel yet. It's coming. Innovation is happening. Drivers need to stay aware, stay adaptable, but don't buy into all the hype just yet. The reality on the ground changes slower than the headlines.
Okay, that makes sense. And all these things we've talked about, the dangers, the economic swings, the policy fights, this new tech, it all seems to point back to one big idea, doesn't it? The need for drivers to have some control over their own future.
Exactly. It raises that critical question. You spend so much time managing schedules for shippers, for your company. How much time are drivers really managing for themselves, for their own long-term security and, well, freedom?
Which leads us right back to something you mentioned earlier, a key theme from sources like Hervey at LifeAsATrucker, the idea of an exit strategy. Or maybe just building something extra.
Yeah, that's really the core message, coming from places like LifeASATrucker.com, retirefromtrucking.com. It's all about helping truckers be able to get out on your terms, not because the company folded or your health gave out or the rates tanked, but when you decide.
And the solution they propose involves AI again, but in a different way.
Right. Not AI driving the truck, but truckers learning how to use AI in order to create extra streams of income. Income that doesn't depend on hauling freight.
Okay, how does that help? What are the benefits?
Think of it like a financial shock absorber. It acts as a shield from some of the ups and downs of freight rates in the economy. It can provide recurring month-after-month income that helps you retire when you want to. It can soften the blow if your company suddenly shuts down, like we saw with Cowan's brokerage unit getting folded into Schneider that impacted a lot of carriers who relied on them.
And this connects back to everything else, the accidents, the economy. Absolutely. It addresses the risk of unfair blame after an accident maybe sidelines you. It protects you from economic downturns. It gives you options if corporate mergers change your job. It even positions you better for the long-term future, where maybe AI does change driving jobs significantly. That downtime truckers have, it can be used proactively. Learn new skills, build these online income sources.
So the overall message is really about empowerment.
Totally. It's about giving drivers the tools to take back control over their financial destiny. That's a powerful way to feel genuinely respected and supported, having agency over your own life and future.
So wrapping up today's deep dive,
Yeah.
we've really journeyed through the complex, sometimes tough, often misunderstood world of trucking. We saw how outside forces, headlines, corporate moves, new tech really hit drivers hard. But we also celebrated that incredible spirit, the courage, the basic human kindness you see out there on the road every single day. And I think the big takeaway, pulling from all these different sources, is just how resilient and insightful the trucking community is.
Yeah.
They're always learning, always adapting. And like Hervey says, you got to look at things from all sides to really understand what's going on.
Yeah. And maybe the most powerful insight is simply this. In this industry, in this world that changes so fast, real freedom comes from being prepared. Whether that's guarding your CDL, understanding the market, or learning completely new skills, your future really is in your hands.
So here's that final thought we want to leave you with, something to chew on. You spend hours managing time for loads, for dispatch, for shippers. Are you carving out any of that time to manage it for you? What's one thing you can start building today, maybe using that downtime, to make sure you can hang up the keys on your terms whenever that day comes?
We really hope this deep dive gave you some valuable perspective, maybe a little inspiration, a sense of empowerment. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and drive safe out there.